Growing up, my childhood vacations to the lake were pure magic. 2 weeks of fishing, swimming, campfires, pure joy. But for the adults, it was weeks of preparation, relentless preparation. Loading up an old Rambler station wagon, pulling a boat, packing for the whole family, and then the long drive. It was a logistical nightmare. We often think faith means just showing up and God handles the rest. But kind of like that vacation, the wise men prove that true faith doesn't just skip preparation. In fact, your faith is often revealed in your meticulous planning. Learn why God expects your best resources and a solid plan before you take even one step. Welcome back to Following the Star, Day 10. We've moved from the prayer to the crucial next step, the plan. Today's theme is powerful. Faith requires preparation. We must bring our best resources to the call. This is where the vision truly meets reality. Those lake trips were the stuff of dreams for me as a kid. Up at sunrise, fishing, cleaning the catch after the fishing, bacon and eggs over an open fire, naps, then swimming, then water skiing, then back out for an evening of fishing, for a campfire under the stars, and then a good night's sleep in the tent. Repeat the next day. It was perfect. But now, as an adult, I get it. Sometimes a big trip like that hits me like the old saying, the juice is not worth the squeeze. The sheer effort of getting all the bits and pieces ready for a 10-hour drive, pulling a boat, feeding and clothing an entire family, it was a monumental task. But here's the key. Every grand adventure requires preparation, a plan. You don't just hope for a good vacation, you plan for one. Now for the wise men, after the confirmation of the word, the sign of the star, the wisdom of his community of believers, the Magi had one more critical step, the plan. Involved incredibly practical logistics of what would be a year-long, dangerous journey. Now think about it. Securing the fastest camels for the desert, gathering vast amounts of provisions, and carefully preparing their valuable gifts of gold, frankincense, and myrrh. Their faith was evidenced not in recklessness, but in meticulousness, the preparation. They recognized that while God would guide their steps, they were responsible for counting the cost and deploying their best resources. We sometimes confuse great faith with a lack of planning. We assume God will miraculously fill in every logistical gap, that somehow He'll just poof and everything will happen the way that it should. However, faith does not negate preparation. In fact, it demands it. God commands us to be good stewards of the gifts and resources He has already provided. The Magi understood that. They understood to offer the Christ child their best, they had to survive the journey, and survival required a detailed plan. You know, it's really unfortunate that for many in our day, even those who call themselves Christians, sometimes their personal investment to prepare for service boils down to attending church. A church service may be just on Easter and Christmas. That was absolutely not the way of the wise men. For them, it was a lifestyle of study and preparation. When I felt God's call into full-time ministry, I was studying to be an engineer. But a sage advisor who had been in ministry for my entire lifetime gave me a powerful counsel. He said, David, a call to ministry is first a call to prepare. So, my wife and I leaned into that. We loaded up the U-Haul and headed across the country to the unknown land, Texas, to work another 3 years on a master's degree in ministry. The Lord has profoundly blessed that preparation, opening doors I never could have imagined. As you move from vision to action this Advent, take time to count the cost. For the mission God has placed before you, what resources, time, money, skills, energy, preparation do you need to gather? Don't offer God empty hands when you have the capacity to prepare. Bring the best resources, your most careful planning, and your full effort to the start of your journey. One of my favorite Old Testament stories illustrates this perfectly. Remember Moses meeting God at the burning bush? God asked Moses, What do you have? And after 40 years as a shepherd, Moses really felt like he had nothing because he was a shepherd for his father-in-law. Nothing except for a simple shepherd staff. God said, throw it down. That staff, that ordinary object that Moses brought in his hands, became God's tool for the next 40 years of incredible miracles. God used that staff through Moses' hand. God blessed the simple shepherd staff that Moses brought. Faith is the conviction that God will guide the prepared plan. So, what are you preparing for? What is God asking you to bring to the journey? Suppose one of you wants to build a tower. Won't you first sit down and estimate the cost to see if you have enough money to complete it? Luke 14:28. Let me ask you, what is one practical step that you need to start right now? You need to add to your plan for God's call on your life this Advent. Share it in the comments below. We can join with you in prayer. And come back, join us tomorrow as we look at the biblical knuckleheads for day 11 of Following the Star. And don't forget to like and subscribe. I'm looking forward to tomorrow.